So here's my little review, I guess you could call it, of this Ibanez SR840 bass, which has been converted into a fretless bass by Jerry Hill, and the fingerboard's been coated with Superglue to give you a nice solid surface to play on. So this bass has got flat wound strings on it. It's got EMG active pickups. These are 35 Ps. So the coils are here and here. So reverse to a Fender, and same at the back pickup. Just volume and tone for each pickup. So this is the neck pickup. So that's kind of like what I would use with you know, if I was going to try and get like a double bass kind of thing going on. Just having a quick noodle, a quick warm up. I mean, the action's very, very low, so you can see, but the neck, the fingerboard is so true, you can play over the fingerboard and the notes don't like choke out, or what's the word I'm looking for, buzz too much. So it's super easy to play. I'm just going to turn up a little bit in my headphones. There we go, a bit more volume. That's better. Oh, sitting on a cable. Right. Doing that. Let's try that again. So you can hear it's pretty even all the way up and down the neck, you know, in the higher register. So, you know, yeah, for a double bass kind of vibe. I'd use that kind of sound. So good for that kind of jazz thing, you know. If I introduce, well, let's just play around with the tone control a little bit. So that's full open. If I just back it off a little bit, it just kind of chills it out a little bit, really. The idea. So they're independent on this bass, but let's go both pickups on full. 2 volumes, 2 tones. Tones wide open. Now you've got that mid-range bite coming from the bridge pickup. So yeah, it sounds nice. You could take a bit of tone off the neck pickup. So that's got a bit more like a kind of Alfonso Johnson kind of 70s kind of sound to it. Up a little bit. You hear now it's favouring the bridge pickup. Back off a little bit of that tone. Just use that because with the superglue finish, it's quite hard, so you do get some percussive kind of noise from the fingerboard, a bit like frets. So you can minimise that a little. Obviously, you could do that with your amp as well if you wanted to. So it's a bit like a Jaco sound, but not fully. But when we look at the next bass, that is a Fender Jazz. So but that's definitely hitting that kind of area much more effectively. So if I back the neck pickup off a bit more, I'll turn it off. So that's just the bridge pickup. So it's very punchy. I mean, I'm playing near the bridge anyway, just to kind of emphasise that. But lots of mid-range. All that kind of stuff, you know. So there's some of that moi thing that we talk about as fretless bass players, but because it's flat wound strings, that's been kind of calmed down a little bit. And you can just bring in some neck pickup. I mean, effectively, it just gives you a bit more bottom, really. You know, in terms of punch, you're still getting mostly the bridge pickup. And of course, you've got the fret lines, which Jerry put in. I think they're plastic, but because they're under the super glue, it doesn't really matter what they are. So this bass has been, excuse me for coughing, got a bit of a cold. This bass has been done for about 6 months, I guess, something like that. And I've played it quite a bit. I mean, I do play fretted bass most of the time, but I've played it quite a bit. There's no real signs of wear. You know, maybe you know, a little bit of marking, which you would expect, because at the end of the day it's metal on super glue, whatever that's made of. Cyano something or other, I always forget the technical name for it. But basically I would say this surface is very, very durable. I'd be surprised if it ever wore out, really. So that's 2 pickups. All that kind of stuff. So I'm just going to mute this bass and change to the Fender Jazz now. So I think that kind of demoed it pretty much. I've just pulled my headphones out. There's cables everywhere, as usual, but welcome to my world. I prefer cables to wireless stuff any day. Right, so here we have the Fender Jazz. Now I'll tell you about this. Oh, I'll just plug it in and just check the level a minute. It's a little bit hotter, so I'm just going to turn the headphones down a bit. Okay, and hopefully, yeah, it's a bit too hot. Alright, so that's a good. So, this is a Mexican Fender Jazz bass. Let's just make sure it's in this shot. Yeah, that's pretty good. Mexican Fender Jazz bass, made in 2015, I think. I found this one on eBay and I really liked the wood on the body. I thought that's going to be a good bass. So before I talk about the fingerboard, EMG JV pickups. So those are basically like old Fender pickups, Alnico magnets. The preamps that are inside are not EQ, they're just flat. So most EMGs have some kind of an EQ in the preamp. So those are flat, 2 volumes, and I've got a stacked EMG bass and treble EQ, just for tweaking really, and then I've put a Fender heavy duty kind of badass style bridge on it in brass. So it's had a few upgrades. I mean, it was a good bass before all of that, but I do like EMGs because they're quiet and they sound good. And these are side-by-side coils on these. A lot of EMGs are stacked, so they're not going to hum. So if I just solo the treble pickup, keep playing that. Just check the tuning a minute. So you can hear straight away. It's got more of that Jaco sound, plus the strings are round wound. So that's just the treble pickup on its own with no EQ. That's probably what I would use on this bass because I like that sort of Jaco kind of sound. And then I could add a bit of low end with this stacked bass and treble. So the fingerboard again has been treated with Superglue, Cyano, de Bergerac. So it really does get that Jaco kind of sound, you know, with these JV pickups. So they're basically modelled after 60s Fender Jazz pickups. No hum. No hum, no buzz. You don't want that. I don't want that. So, and also the treble on these EMGs is little micro switches, and you can change the frequencies that it kind of kicks in and the curve of it. So this one I've got it so it kicks in about like 1K, and it just gives you a nice little mid-stroke treble swell in the EQ. So I'll just demonstrate that. So it just kind of emphasises that nasal thing, but you know, if I needed on a gig for the bass to suddenly cut through, I could just tweak that. But it's not bright, it's not like, you know, twangy. We don't want twangy, not on a fretless. If I take it back down again. Now that sounds nice. You could get away with just a regular tone control on this bass. It's got that. That moi thing. So I'll just boost that treble, low, well, high mid to treble. And then if I add a bit of neck pickup, actually, you can either boost the bass or add some neck pickup. And that neck pickup just adds a bit more bass. Maybe just calms the nasal quality down a little bit, just fattens it up. Yeah, I could just keep playing that. These are the kind of noodly things I do to warm up usually. Does that thing you hear on like Joni Mitchell, fifth, all that kind of stuff. It's very. I'll just play a little bit of chromatic. You can hear it's very even, the action is very low. There's a little bit of rattle there, but that's because the neck is very straight. And Jaco used to have his neck very straight. You know, on some Weather Report records you can hear that, if anything, it's buzzing a bit too much. All the nonsense you wouldn't play on a gig. or less, yeah. Like I say, they're just warm-ups. So just noodly things I do when I pick a bass up. It's nice for carrying a melody, and because the Cyano, the superglue, is so hard, it's very responsive to any kind of rolling vibrato. I mean, that would be true if it was just wood, but even more so. All I'm doing is just rolling the finger around. Like a singer. Like Pavarotti. Or Johnny Pavarotti. So that's basically the bridge pickup. A bit of high EQ, a bit of low EQ. I'll leave that where it is. I'll turn the bridge pickup off and just let's have a listen to the neck pickup. Let's take that treble off and the bass. I mean, to me, I had a 73 jazz bass for quite a while. It was a nice instrument. It sounds very similar. Yeah, the EMG have nailed this vintage pickup thing, but without the noise. The only noise you hear is the noise I'm making. So that's kind of, you know, classic jazz bass neck pickup. Not as fat as a precision bass, similar kind of position, a little bit more clarity to it. It is a sound I really like. I think a lot of jazz bass players don't use it because they think, well, jazz bass, 2 pickups, here we go. It's that middly sound, which is classic, you know. Obviously this is fretless, but the neck pickup sound, let's take a bit of treble off. Maybe do a bit of walking. Hang on, I'll do that again. Shouldn't play bass until it's dark. So a little bit more kind of rattly stuff going on because it's round wound strings. I'm picking a lot of it up on this mic here. Yeah, where is it? There. So you know, when this has been mixed or whatever, it might not be so obvious. But there you go. There's the neck pickup sound. You know, I like it. Probably wouldn't use it much on a fretless. Fretless, I always end up going for the Jaco kind of, you know, that nasal bite. I really like this bass. I like the other bass, but I really like this bass because it's a Fender. Return to Fender. You know, there's something about it. A Fender Jazz or a precision bass. Just the way it sits, the way it feels, the way it sounds. Leo Fender was a bloody genius. That's nice. That's a classic Jaco lick, you know. Add a bit of treble to that, bit of bass, more bass, maybe a bit less treble. Hang on. Do it here. A bit fatter there. This bass is so easy to play, you know. You're not going to get fatigued playing it on a gig or session, whatever the hell that is. Yeah. Pass me another plug-in. I'm starting to practice now. So 2 pickups together. Again, talking about Jaco, the only time I ever heard him use that sound was on Sightseeing, which is on 830. On the 4th side, he plays a solo, which is stunning, and he uses the 2 pickups on a jazz bass, which he very rarely did. Excuse the coughing. Yeah, on the full side of 830, because I don't know if you know, but they wiped some tape, so they did have enough live stuff for 4 sides of vinyl, but somebody wiped the tapes, so they did some studio stuff. A lot of it's edited together, you can hear that. But this bass solo on Sightseeing by Jaco, people don't talk about it, it's amazing. Unfortunately it gets interrupted by Cyano. It's like Miles doing his old Bert, that's enough. Next thing. Anyway, I'm kind of waffling on a bit now. So this is the Mexican Fender Jazz with the Superglue, this is the most important thing, the Superglue fingerboard EMGs and what have you. I'm Michael J. Bolton, bass player, guitarist, bit of a drummer, do a bit of writing. Signing off. Cheers.